down, way down from last year. We have, as you know, I've been saying to a lot of people, Walmart said that Thanksgiving this year is exactly 25% less than last year. So that's good for New York, good for everybody. But I just want to congratulate. I think you're going to have hopefully a really great mayor. The better he does, the happier I am. I will say there's no difference in party. There's no difference in anything. And we're going to be helping him to make everybody's dream come true, having a strong and very safe New York. And congratulations, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Please.
Now, this was breaking the internet pretty much before this meeting happened, and everybody was kind of losing it. Or they kind of thought this might have turned into a yelling match. But it does seem like, well, they had a conversation. They might have came to some type of agreement on how they want to lead or how New York should be led in the future, now that Zohran Mamdani is the mayor. And it looks like Zohran Mamdani might not be so much of a hardcore socialist as we thought.
I appreciated the meeting with the president. And as he said, it was a productive meeting focused on a place of shared admiration and love, which is New York City, and the need to deliver affordability to New Yorkers, the 8.5 million people who call our city their home, who are struggling to afford life in the most expensive city in the United States of America. We spoke about rent, we spoke about groceries, we spoke about utilities, we spoke about the different ways in which people are being pushed out. And I appreciated the time with the president. I appreciated the conversation. I look forward to working together to deliver that affordability for New Yorkers.
Thank you very much. Any questions, please?
President Trump, Stephen Nelson from the New York Post. I've got a question for you and then also one for the mayor-elect. Sure. For you, you referred to Mr. Mamdani as a communist. Could you describe why you feel that way? And also, will you do anything to stop him from arresting Prime Minister Netanyahu if he visits New York?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, so Benjamin Netanyahu visit New York, like Zohran, you going to carry out with arresting him? Which I wouldn't be mad if he did. I'll be quite honest with you. But that's just me. And shout out Asher Rose for starting us off. Hey, appreciate the support, sis. Says starting off the evening. Hey, appreciate that, sis.
Well, we didn't discuss your second part of the question. And on your first part, I mean, he's got views that are a little out there, but who knows? I mean, we're going to see what works, or he's going to change also. We all change. I changed a lot from when I first came to office. It's now quite a while ago. It's quite a while. My first term was great. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We're doing even better now. We're doing much better now than we did even the first term. And I can tell you some of my views have changed. And we had discussions on some things. I'm not going to discuss what they were, but that I feel very confident that he can do a very good job. I think he is going to surprise some conservative people, actually. And some very liberal people, he won't surprise them because they already like him.
And for Mr. Mamdani, it sounds like you had a productive discussion, but just days ago, you referred to President Trump as a despot who had betrayed the country. You said you'd be his worst nightmare and accused him of having a fascist agenda. Are you planning to retract any of these remarks in order to improve your relationship?
I think both President Trump and I, we are very clear about our positions and our views. And what I really appreciate about the president is that the meeting that we had focused not on places of disagreement, which there are many, and also focused on the shared purpose that we have in serving New Yorkers. And frankly, that is something that could transform the lives of the 8.5 million people who are.
I mean, that's a smart answer, Zohran. He's like, you know what? Look, I ain't going to take back nothing because I'm a Democrat. I'm a Democrat socialist. I got to keep up the TDS for the base. But I will give you a politically smart answer on cooperation, on how we need to cooperate with the other side. And that is a pretty smart answer. And I'm all for it. I'm all for both sides working together, especially when it comes to New York City.
Currently struggling under a cost of living crisis with 1 in 4 living in poverty. And the meeting came back again and again to what it could look like to lift those New Yorkers out of struggle and start to deliver them a city that they could do more than just struggle to afford it, but actually start to live in it.
And I've been called much worse than a despot, so it's not that insulting. Maybe I think he'll change his mind after we get to working together. Yes, please.
Mr. President, Anthony Marshak from MTV Lebanon. I would like to ask you a question about the Middle East regarding, you said that Hezbollah in Lebanon is not in a good position. And Lebanon now is the final unresolved after Gaza and Syria. Given your assessment, like what do you say for the Lebanese today? It's the independence day in Lebanon. And what is your next move to push toward disarmament? The disarmament of Hezbollah.
Well, we are pushing for total disarmament of Hamas and frankly everybody else. And we actually have peace in the Middle East. As you know, the King of Saudi Arabia just left yesterday. We had some great meetings, and he's made a contribution toward the United States of more than $1 trillion. We have now over $20 trillion coming in. No country has ever had anything like that, not even close. If you go to 2 trillion or 1 trillion, it's a lot. We have 20 or $21 trillion. I think that Hezbollah has been a problem in Lebanon, big problem. We're working with Lebanon. We're working with everybody in the Middle East. That's another thing I think we have in common. We want to see peace in the Middle East. And we actually have now, for the first time, peace in the Middle East after 3,000 years. And now we're going to refine it. And I think you're going to see some very positive things happen.
There is a potential to invite the Lebanese president.
Now, it does seem like we are shifting our focus, Lord. Yeah, but it does seem like we're shifting our focus towards Lebanon in the Middle East for some strange reason, of course, inspired by Israel. I'm just going to keep it honest with you, because let's not forget, as things were kind of toning down over there in Gaza, they did start bombing southern Lebanon. I was about to say Lebanese. Yes, but southern Lebanon. So this has already been something that's already been forecast to start. They're going to go ahead and start with Lebanon. They're going to go ahead and start with Syria. And hopefully this isn't true, and hopefully I'm wrong, but this is just what's been laid out before us.
And to meet you to the White House.
I would do that, absolutely. And if the mayor would like to be here for that meeting, because I know he feels very strongly. I think you feel very, very strongly about peace in the Middle East.
We desperately want it. And that's something that I shared with the president, that when I spoke to New Yorkers who had voted for the president last November on Hillside Avenue and Fordham Road, I asked them why. I heard again and again 2 major reasons. One was that they wanted an end to forever wars. They wanted an end to the taxpayer dollars we had funding violations of human rights, and they wanted to address the cost of living crisis. And I appreciated the chance to discuss both of those things.
You said a lot of my voters.
Oh, guys, let's not forget to double tap that screen, like the video, guys. Let's get more people in the conversation by double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support, guys.
Actually voted for him, and
I'm
okay with that. I'll do that. I'll sign it. Give it to me. I'll sign it in a minute. That's pretty good.
Mr. President, you've threatened to send federal troops to New York City. You both have differences when it comes to ICE agents in New York City. Mr. Mamdani, you've called ICE a rogue government entity. I wonder how you reconcile your differences on both of those issues.
Well, I think we're going to work them out. And I think that if we have known murderers and known drug dealers and some very bad people, we want to get them out. And the mayor wants to have peace. We discussed this at great length, actually, maybe more than anything else. He wants to have a safe New York. Ultimately, a safe New York is going to be a great New York. If it's not safe, no matter how well we do with pricing and with anything else, we can talk about anything you want. If you don't have safe streets, it's not going to be a success. So we're going to work together. We're going to make sure that if there are horrible people there, we want to get them out. I think he wants to get them out maybe more than I do. So we'll work together. We discussed it at great length. Yes, please.
2 questions, if I may. One for you, Mr. President, on BBC.
So it sounds like Zohran's going to capitulate when it comes to ICE. He's like, all right, well, don't worry. We're going to bring in ICE. Hey, he might even let Trump bring the National Guard for these funds that, I don't know, hopefully that they use for infrastructure, or, Zohran might reallocate it to fund his socialist agenda. You never know.
The second, but first of all, for the mayor-elect, you're both from different parts of the political spectrum. You're both populists, though, and I just wonder to what extent the president's campaign style, his techniques, his social media use inspired any part of your campaign.
Well, I actually told the president that, so much of the focus of our campaign has been on the cost of living crisis. And when we asked those New Yorkers who had voted for the president, when we saw an increase in his numbers in New York City, that came back to the same issue: cost of living, cost of living, cost of living. And they spoke about the cost of groceries, the cost of rent, the cost of Con Ed, the cost of childcare. And too often politicians are looking to lecture to New Yorkers what they should care about, as opposed to listen. And when we spoke to those voters who voted for President Trump, we heard them speak about cost of living. We focus on that same cost of living. And that's where I am really looking forward to delivering for New Yorkers in partnership with the president on the affordability agenda.
And I think we have to work a little bit. We talked about Con Edison. We have to work a little bit on getting the prices, because, we've gotten fuel prices way down, but it hasn't shown up in Con Edison. And we're going to have to talk to them. If we're sending them fuel at a much lower price than it was a year ago, which is true, we have to get Con Edison to start lowering the rates.
Absolutely.
And if I may,
Okay.
last week you told me
Agreement.
you were pushing ahead with your plans to sue the BBC for up to $5 billion. You were going to speak to Prime Minister Starmer as well. Is there any progress or any updates on those issues?
Well, we get along very well with the Prime Minister. We made a deal with UK. I like him. He's a fine person. And, you know, I think they have some big energy problems. You know, they've got windmills all over the place. They're going to have to start using other methods because their energy is out of control. Talking about in the UK, it's out of control. And he's got.
And I've already discussed how in the UK it's terrible because their energy prices go through the roof because, well, they subsidize it. Yes, the people of the UK subsidize their green energy by having higher electricity prices, higher electric bills. It's just the way they're working it out over there until they've reached this technological advancement that they've yet to achieve through green energy, or at least the power production of it.
That problem. He's got a big immigration problem, as you know, and he's got a big energy problem. And we talk about it. He's a good man. Prime Minister's a good man.
You have a chance to speak this week.
I haven't spoken this week.
Mr. President, have you spoken to President Zelensky, or do you intend to meet with him, President Zelensky, about your plan? Are you going to meet with him?
I've spoken with their people. We have a plan. It's horrible what's happening. It's a war that should have never happened. It would have never happened if I was president, and it's a shame. And I thought they should have acted quicker. But it's a cold winter, and a lot of the you talk about utilities, but a lot of the big energy producing plants have been under attack, to put it mildly, to put it nicely. Yeah, we have a way of getting peace, or we think we have a way of getting peace. He's going to have to approve it.
Mm-hmm.
Just so sad. So many people. You know, last month they lost 25,000 soldiers. This is something we have.
So here's the outrage about what's going on with the whole Ukraine situation, because even Zelensky done came out and said his piece talking about, oh, the plan that Trump and Putin has came together with pretty much leaves us out. It's going to put us in looking like we were in a losing position. It's like everybody has abandoned Ukraine. And I'm like, Ukraine, Zelensky, you've abandoned yourselves on the battlefield, okay? Some of your soldiers is abandoning the battlefield. You've ran all the propaganda in the world to make it seem like y'all were winning, but propaganda, I'm sorry, it doesn't win wars. Results on the battlefield do. And sadly, Putin got the best results on the battlefield. So now everybody has to admit that, yeah, Ukraine got to capitulate. Sadly, this is not me being pro-Russian. This is just me understanding the reality of how things are.
Haven't seen anything like this since the Second World War, and they're averaging 6,000 or 7,000 a week between the two of them, dead soldiers.
Oh yeah, shout out to my man Gaming. He says New York has an immigration issue as well, but hey, I mean, hey, nah, they discussed it at the beginning. He was pretty much talking about, you know, they have a lot of illegals in there, a lot of criminals. You want to go in there and get them. Remember what Zohran said before, that he's going to resist ICE. So apparently when he met with Trump, he already conceded on the whole, all right, I ain't going to stop ICE. We're going to get the illegals out of there. We're going to make sure New Yorkers are safe and things are more affordable. I mean, it sounds like he's capitulating on some of his more radical views.
And it goes on. And I think they're getting reasonably close, but I don't want to predict. I would have said that would have been one of my early ones. I did 8 peace deals of countries, including in India, Pakistan. You could even go, in fact, they're coming here in a week or two, go to the Congo and Rwanda. That was 10 million people dead. And we worked something out on that, but so many. And the one I thought would have been, for me, because I have a very good relationship with President Putin, I thought that would have been maybe quicker, but it does take 2 to tango. And now you just see all the death. And, you know, it doesn't affect us other than the fact that we don't want to see all those people dead. Really, it's on the other side of the ocean. It's a war that should have never happened. It did happen. I blame the person also sitting right behind this desk. This is a war that should have never happened, and it wouldn't have happened if I were president. But we're trying to save a lot of lives. They're losing 25,000 lives over the last short period of time. That's Ukrainian and Russian, and it's a shame.
What happens if President
I want to ask the mayor-elect about a House resolution just passed overwhelmingly to condemn socialism, including with 86 Democrats, all of House Dem leadership, and the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, despite his endorsement of you. What's your reaction to that?
I have to be honest with you,
Legendary.
I focused very little on resolutions. Frankly, I've been focusing.
Condemn socialism.
I understand. I think the focus is on the work at hand. I can tell you I am someone who is a democratic socialist. I've been very open about that. And I know there might be differences about ideology, but
I'm honestly impressed with the young man. I'll be real with you. The fact that he actually came, he did something that, I'll be real with you, his leadership won't even do. That the radicals in his base won't even do. He actually came there to the president and actually discussed how they're actually going to fix New York. I got to respect that. You can call him an Islamist, jihadist, and all that wild stuff, but he's most definitely a socialist. You can call him all that stuff, but we got to respect the effort, and let's see where it takes him. Well, let's see where it takes New York City.
the place of agreement is the work that needs to be done to make New York City affordable. That's what I look forward to.
And I want to clarify your answer to Stephen Nelson. He asked about your comment calling the president a fascist. And your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about.
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay. It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
And Mr. President, I wanted to ask you also about this Ukraine plan.
Yeah.
President Zelensky said today that his country would risk either giving up a partner or giving up its dignity. There's been criticism that this deal
You mean he
proposal,
doesn't like it?
it's unclear. He was sort of tenuous about
He'll
it.
have to like it. And if he doesn't like it, then, they should just keep fighting, I guess,
The suggestion that he
Oh.
made, though, was that if he doesn't
And that's Trump pretty much admitting that, yeah, I mean, the worst thing for Zelensky to do is to keep fighting. Not Putin, but Zelensky. He's like, if you don't like this deal, I mean, you could keep fighting. That'd be the worst thing for you. But accepting the deal would be the best thing for Ukraine right now. And like I said, this isn't me being pro-Putin. This is just me understanding the reality of how things are working out there in Ukraine on the battlefield. And also, this is a I told you so moment as well. Like okay, yes, it is. I ain't gonna lie. I told you so. What did I tell you? I told you that Ukraine was losing on the battlefield. I told you that there was no match for Russia. And for some reason, y'all was believing the propaganda that somehow Ukraine could win this. Somehow, some way, in a fairy tale land far, far away, they could win this. Well, look where we're at.
accept it, that the U.S. would pull back its support for Ukraine. Is that
Well, at some
accurate?
point, he's going to have to accept something. He hasn't accepted. You remember right in the Oval Office not so long ago, I said, you don't have the cards. Don't forget, I inherited this war. This war never would have happened. I inherited this war. And I thought he should have made a deal a year ago, 2 years ago. The ultimate deal would have been if it never started. That would have been the good deal. That could have been done too if you had the right president, but you didn't have the right president.
Mr. President,
Putin back.
Mr. President, the cost of living is something that you and Mr. Mamdani seem to agree on. Democrats have run New York City for a long time, Mr. Mamdani. Do you see Democrat policy specifically as being a problem? And I'd like that be a question that both of you could answer in New York City.
Look, I think that there are many things in our city where we have to own the responsibility of it, things that existed long before the president was the president. And those are also part of the message of our campaign, was to take on a broken politics of the past. And I ran against a number of candidates who represented different versions of that past. And what we found time and again is that working people were left behind in the politics of our city. And what we're looking to do is put those people right back at the heart of our politics so that we.
I mean, yes, and that's why a lot of working people started to abandon New York City. I mean, there's a lot of people who trust me, and I was saying here in my home city of Columbus, that actually comes from New York. And the main reason they say is because, there's not enough jobs, and the jobs they do have don't pay enough. And I trust me, you'll have the liberals come out and say, oh, but we're making all this money. Yeah, congratulations. You're admitting that you're overly taxing your people while most of them are not making enough money. And yes, most of the high paying jobs, when we're talking about when you have a degree or a specialized skill, are in these cities. So when you highlight those, but forget about the people on the bottom, you kind of expose y'all elitist attitude.
Don't have a situation where we're in the wealthiest city in the history of the world, and yet 1 in 5 can't even afford $2.90 for a Metro card.
Mr. Mamdani.
We had some interesting conversation, and some of his ideas really are the same ideas that I have. But a big thing on cost, the new word is affordability. Another word is just groceries. It's sort of an old-fashioned word, but it's very accurate. And they're coming down high. They were, we had, both of us, we had the highest inflation in the history of our country the last 4 years under the Biden administration. And we've got inflation down now to a normal number. It's going to go even a little bit lower than that. Katie, do you have something?
Oh, guys, let's make sure to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Appreciate the support, by the way. But let's not forget to double tap that screen and like the video.
Mr. President, thank you so much. Mr. Mamdani often talks about New York City being covered by international law, that they will follow international law. Doesn't often talk about the U.S. Constitution. What is your response to that?
Well, I don't know what you're referring to in terms of it can be covered by international law, local law. It's covered by a lot of laws, but it's covered by U.S. law. Are you referring to anything in particular?
He just says that they're a city that endorses and enforces international law. Is that at odds with
No, I don't know. Would you want to respond?
Yeah, I think what I've shared with the president is our desire to not only follow the laws of our own city, laws that protect New Yorkers, but also a desire for consistency in our politics across the board. And that's something that we've talked about and something that I know many New Yorkers want.
So you were with ICE? We were with ICE then?
We discussed ICE and New York City, and I spoke about how the laws that we have in New York City allow for New York City government to speak to the federal administration for about 170 serious crimes. The concerns that many New Yorkers have are around the enforcement of immigration laws on New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs. And most recently, we're talking about a mother and her 2 children, how this has very little to do with what that is.
Mr. Mamdani.
Okay. I like this. I like how he's separating it. And yes, New York does have a crazy immigration problem. I mean, of course, and here's the thing. I mean, if ICE can really get into New York, we're going to start seeing Canal Street get locked up. We're going to start seeing the Bronx kind of get a little bit shaky over there. So, hey, I can't wait. Oh, and also Jamaica too. Also that little, also over there. That's gonna be going out. That's gonna be going crazy as well, because we all know New York has a crazy immigration problem, and not everybody there came here legally.
What we did is we discussed crime.
It's not place to.
More than ICE per se, we discussed crime, and he doesn't want to see crime, and I don't want to see crime, and I have very little doubt that we're not going to get along on that issue. He wants to. And he said some things that were very interesting as to housing construction. And he wants to see houses go up. He wants to see a lot of houses created, a lot of apartments built, et cetera. And, we actually, people would be shocked. But I want to see the same thing.
Mr. Mamdani, anti-Israel protesters.
Okay?
Yeah, Mr. President, I wanted to know one of the policies as well that Mayor-elect Mamdani talked a number of times about on the campaign was shifting the tax burden for property taxes from what he called minority communities to white-based communities and putting more taxes on white people. I also noticed that in your acceptance speech, you didn't mention anything about America or Christians or white people in general. And so I didn't know if that was one of the policies that you guys had spoken about.
We focused on affordability. We focused on the cost of living crisis. What I will say is that I am very much interested in property tax reform, because what we see right now in New York City is a system that is so inequitable that it can't even stand up in court. And the president and I spoke about the importance of not only building more housing, but also making sure that regulation of housing is something that is manageable to actually get through and not the cause of yet another weight that we see in
But
our
to be
city.
clear, you're continuing this idea of race-based property taxes.
No, to be very clear,
That's what you said.
no, the use of the term was a description of neighborhoods, not a description of intent.
So you intend to tax the whiter neighborhoods more?
No, we intend to create a fair property tax system because we want a New York City that is not only fair and equitable, but also one that every New Yorker can afford.
I'm gonna be honest with you. He did say it wild as hell, though. He's like, yeah, we're gonna tax the whiter neighborhoods, the white people. I mean, bro, you could have just said, the wealthy people in the high income areas. But I mean, let's be real. It's really hard to backtrack when you specifically said white people. So I don't know how the New Yorkers felt about that one. But hey, as long as it's about sticking it to the rich man, I'm pretty sure that's all they cared about.
Please, God.
Mr. Mamdani, anti-Israel protesters just targeted a synagogue in New York. Are you concerned about Jewish New Yorkers feeling welcome and safe in the city? And President Trump, you've threatened to cut off federal funding to New York City. What policies would prompt you to do that? Would that be city-run grocery stores? Would it be something else?
Well, I think if we didn't get along, whether it's cut off or just make it a little bit difficult or not give as much, we want to see, I use the term, we don't want good money going after bad. And we don't want that to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. I did say that, subject to what policies are being said. We had a meeting today that actually surprised me. He wants to see no crime. He wants to see housing being built. He wants to see rents coming down, all things that I agree with. Now, we may disagree how we get there. The rent coming down, I think one of the things I really gleaned very.
I've always said that, though, about the two sides. It's like we low-key agree on a lot. Like, we agree on a lot. We just disagree on how we want to get there. We all want affordable housing. Like, we just disagree on how we want to get there. We all want prosperity for all Americans. We just disagree how we want to get there. And if we can come in the middle, we can actually find some understanding and really get all of that, political strife out the way and actually get some things done.
Very much today. He'd like to see him come down, ideally by building a lot of additional housing.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate way. He agrees with that, and so do I. But if I read the newspapers and the stories, I don't hear that. But I heard him say it today, and I think that's a very positive step. No, I don't expect. I expect to be helping him, not hurting him. A big help, because I want New York City to be great. Look, I love New York City. It's where I come from. I spent a lot of years there. Now I'm right here. We took a big setback with the mayor that we had, Dave de Blasio. I thought it was a tremendous setback for the city. I think this mayor can do some things that are going to be really great.
Mr. President, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President.
How about you?
Thank you, Mr. President. You're a billionaire. You have a different address nowadays than you used to, but you used to call New York City home. Would you feel comfortable living in New York City under a Mamdani administration?
Yeah, I would. I really would. Especially
Okay.
after the meeting. Absolutely.
What makes you comfortable?
We agree on a lot more than I would have thought. I think I want him to do a great job, and we'll help him do a great job. He may have different views, but in many ways, we were discussing when Bernie Sanders was out of the race, I picked up a lot of his votes, and people had no idea, because he was strong on not getting ripped off in trade and lots of the things that I've practiced and been very successful on.
True.
Tariffs, a lot of things. Bernie Sanders and I agreed on much more than people thought. And when he was put out of the race, I think quite unfairly, if you want to know the truth, many of the Bernie Sanders voters voted for me. And I felt very comfortable, frankly, in seeing that and saying that. And, it just turned out to be a statistical truth. But no, I feel very comfortable. I would feel very, very comfortable being in New York, and I think much more so after the meeting. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a question for you, but a very quick one for the mayor. Why did you fly here? Aren't trains greener?
I'll use every form of transit, and I want to make sure that they're all affordable in New York City, and that's why making buses fast and free is a centerpiece of our campaign.
Did
There is
you?
a bus that goes.
Well,
Hey, this man be so slick. This man's so slick. I ain't even gonna lie. When it comes to the way he answered things, of course, he skirts the hell out of the question, but he's just like, yeah. So why didn't you take the train? Why'd you use a plane? Isn't it greener to take the train? He's like, look, I use all forms of transit, and it's all about affordability. So I'm trying to make everything lower, even the plane ticket that I took to get over here. You know what? I can respect that answer, even though he is low key spinning it.
Quicker too. He's working very hard for him to be. That's a very long drive. I'll stick up for you. The plane takes you 30 minutes and driving takes you a
And
long
Mr.
time.
President, I was wondering if you could clear up some confusion around a Washington Post report. There was this explosive report that the Coast Guard is no longer going to characterize swastikas and nooses as hate symbols. DHS called that a lie and fake news. Can you clear up?
I don't know anything about it. When was this written?
I think yesterday.
Well, look, the Coast Guard's an incredible group of people. I know them very well. We just ordered a lot of new Coast Guard cutters, beautiful, the most magnificent ship. They look like yachts with lots of guns on them. So I don't know. I haven't seen any report like that, but certainly we want them to remain a great force, and they are.
Peacemaker, and you did a piece in all the 9 months
Yes.
around the world. I would like to ask Mr. Mamdani, You've accused the U.S. government of committing genocide in Gaza while President Trump was working on peace. Why that?
I've spoken about the Israeli government committing genocide, and I've spoken about our government funding it. And I shared with the president in our meeting about the concern that many New Yorkers have of wanting their tax dollars to go towards the benefit of New Yorkers and their ability to afford basic dignity. And what we see right now is we're in the 9th consecutive year of more than 100,000 school children being homeless in our city. And there's a desperate need not only for the following of human rights, but also the following through on the promises we've made New Yorkers. And I appreciated the meeting we had and the work.
I ain't gonna lie, I respect that answer because they try to make it something geopolitical, and he spun it back to home policies. He spun it back to let's talk about what's going on in America. Let's talk about what's going on in New York and how these kids are suffering, instead of talking about or always bringing things back to what's going on overseas. I gotta respect that, to be quite honest with you. And that's really one of the reasons why he won. Remember, one of the most viral clips that made Zohran Mamdani really shoot up there was the fact that when they said, where's the first place you're gonna visit when you become mayor? Everybody else said Israel. Well, almost everybody said Israel. One guy was talking about somewhere in the Caribbean, and he said, I'm gonna stay right here with New Yorkers. Which one sounds more like he was for the people? Which candidate?
That we can
Do
do.
you agree that President Trump did do a peace and he worked hard to make the peace, because he worked hard to do the peace in the Middle East and everywhere? What do you agree with that?
I appreciate all efforts towards peace, and I shared with President Trump that when I spoke to Trump voters on Hillside Avenue, including one of whom was a pharmacist that spoke about how President Trump's father actually went to that pharmacy.
And this will be one of the few times you see me agree with a Dem. Well, honestly, no, a socialist. I'll be real with you. Be one of the few times.
Far from Jamaica Estates, that people were tired of seeing our tax dollars fund endless wars. And I also believe that we have to follow through on the international human rights. And I know that still today, those are being violated, and that continues to be work that has to be done no matter where we're speaking of.
Mr. President, question for Mr. Thank you, Mr. President. Do you view the mayor-elect as the true leader of the Democrat Party? And do you think Leader Schumer's and Leader Jeffries, have to follow his lead?
Well, look, I hope they have great leaders. This is a man that right now I think is focused in New York City. I really think he has a chance to do a great job. We're going to help him, but I really think he has a chance to do a great job. But I'll let you answer that. You consider yourself the leader of the Democrats. I think it's more appropriate for him.
I consider myself the next mayor of New York City, and I keep my horizons firmly on New York City. And I appreciate the meeting with the president, which focused again on the 5 boroughs and whether New Yorkers could afford to live there.
By the way, being the mayor of New York City is a big deal.
Absolutely.
I always said, one of the things I would love to be someday is the mayor of New York City. Being the mayor of New York, and especially now, because I think you're at really a turning point, one way or the other. It could go great, or it can go in a different direction. And I think you really have a chance to make it great. I appreciate what you're saying.
Mr. President, you say you love New York City. Mr. Mamdani, does New York City love President Trump?
New York City loves a future that is affordable. And I can tell you that there were more New Yorkers who voted for President Trump in the most recent presidential election because of that focus on cost of living. And I'm looking forward to working together to deliver on that affordability agenda.
I got a lot of votes. One more. Go ahead. 1 or 2 more. Go ahead. I tell you, the press has eaten this thing up.
No, I mean, here's the thing. Like, what Trump need to realize is that when he starts focusing more on affordability, that's when his approval ratings are going to start to recover. Like, yeah, when you start focusing more on affordability and people start seeing the results, you start seeing the jobs, you start seeing inflation go down, you start seeing prices stable, that's when the approval ratings will go up. Because we're not even going to see, I'm never going to bullshit you. The approval ratings are looking terrible. And it's mainly because the administration, in my personal opinion, of course, is focusing too much on what's going on overseas than focusing on what's going on here in America. Or honestly, they're not really showboating it enough. What's being showboated is what we're doing over there in Venezuela, what we're doing over there in Ukraine, Israel, Syria, yada, yada. Y'all get my point. So when he starts focusing more on what's going on at home and starts highlighting that, I believe that's when these approval ratings will start skyrocketing again. Until then, well, it is what it is.
I've had a lot of meetings with the heads of major countries. Nobody cared. This meeting that you people have gone, outside you have hundreds of people waiting. This is just a small little group. For some reason, the press has found this to be a very interesting meeting. the biggest people in the world, they come over from countries nobody cares. But they did care about this meeting, and it was a great meeting. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. President, I was going to ask you exactly that. Why do you think there's so much more, so much excitement around this than even some foreign leaders?
Because I think he's different. All right, I think he's different, and that can be in a very positive way. But I think he's different than, your typical guy runs, wins, becomes mayor maybe, and nothing exciting. Because he has a chance to really do something great for New York. New York is at a very critical point, and he does need the help of the federal government to really succeed, and we're going to be helping him. But he's different than, your average candidate. He came out of nowhere. I said he has a great campaign manager standing over there. He came out of nowhere. Would you start off at 1 or 2? And then...
I mean, guys, we got our breaking news. I guess Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene resigns from Congress. Yes, Marjorie Taylor Greene resigns from Congress, and this is actually coming out of Fox News. I'm gonna go ahead and get that pulled up right after this.
I watched. I said, "Who is this guy?" He was at 1, then he was at 3, then he was at 5, then he was at 9, then he went up to 17. I said, that's getting a little bit interesting, right? And then all of a sudden he wins a primary that nobody expected he was going to win. It's a great tribute. I mean, it's an amazing thing that he did.
And I'll just add one thing to what the president said. Is one thing I also appreciated is in our meeting to appreciate a portrait of FDR and the incredible work that was done with the New Deal, and also in thinking about what it can look like when the federal government and New York City government work together to deliver on.
All right, just on a quick pause for this one. We're going to get over to this about 50 seconds or so. Let's get into this real quick. We'll get right back to that. Let's see here.
And another Fox News alert, Marjorie Taylor Greene announced she's resigning. Her last day will be January 5th. MTG is a powerful voice in the party who recently had a falling out with President Trump, and she put out a statement today. I have too much self-respect and dignity, love my family way too much, and do not want my sweet district to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the president. We all fought for only to fight and win my election, while Republicans will likely lose the midterms. I refuse to be a battered wife, hoping it all goes away and gets better.
Okay.
Click here to subscribe.
I don't know if I like that response. I mean, Marjorie, stick in the fight. Don't bow out and just say, oh, well, I'm clocking out because, I already know I'm going to win. I already know I'm going to beat the resistance. Then beat the resistance. Like, we need you in there if that's the case. Hopefully she kind of withdraws that, but we'll see. There might be some hidden forces behind there, too. Maybe she's actually, those threats are, intensifying. Maybe, I don't know, they got something on Marjorie Taylor Greene. You never know. But the way she's leaving right now, I don't know. I don't like it. I'll be quite honest. But all right, though, let's get right back over to Zohran and Trump.
On affordability, it can be transformative.
We have a great portrait of FDR that I found in the vaults that was missing for years. I found it, and I put it up. He's a Democrat, to the best of my knowledge. He's a Democrat. And when the mayor saw that portrait, he said, sir, do you mind if I have a picture taken by that portrait? It's an amazing portrait. I hope the picture comes out good. But it's an amazing portrait in the cabinet room. So he's a big fan of the New Deal, I guess, and of FDR. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. President. You said that you both spoke about crime. There are many police officers set to come off the rolls at the end of this year in New York City. Are you going to allow those police to be replaced with police officers, actual cops? And are you going to require that happens? Would there be some consequence if the
Well, I hope
staff?
it happens, but again, that's going to be ultimately the mayor's decision.
What's your answer?
Is that I look forward to delivering public safety with the NYPD. And I've said over the course of our campaign that we have the number of police officers today. They are the ones that's budgeted about 35,000 headcount. And I think the key thing is that we have to make it easier for police to focus on police work, not ask them to respond to 200,000 mental health calls a year.
So is that a reduction from what you're at right now? Are you committing to maintaining the same level?
Yeah, I don't know about that agenda still, because you never know. Those mental health calls might turn into a violent situation where you need law enforcement. So unless law enforcement is going to tag team with the social worker or tag along, I don't think we should just send social worker just because there's a perceived mental situation.
of cops
I've committed over the course of the campaign to maintain the 35,000. That's the head count that we had through the
and
campaign.
not replace them with caseworkers, social workers.
No, I've said that's the head count that we want. What we need to do is make sure they can focus on serious crime.
And he just retained a great police commissioner, I believe, right?
Yes,
If
yes,
the-
we did, Commissioner Tisch.
If the newspapers are correct.
That one
Just-
they're correct about.
He retained, I think, somebody that is she's a good friend of some of the people in my family, of Ivanka, and they say she's really good, really competent, and he just retained her, so that's a good sign.
Mr. President, are there still topics that you see the two of you disagreeing on in the future? And do you think you'll have more meetings like this?
There will be topics that we disagree on. I think we'll probably come to a conclusion, and ultimately, he'll convince me, or I'll convince him. It's for the good of New York. Ultimately, it's for the good of New York. I don't care about affiliations or parties or anything else. I want to see if this city could be unbelievable. If he could be a spectacular success, I'd be very happy.
Do you think you guys will meet more in the future too?
So,
Do you think you'll meet again in the future, throughout the administration?
I think we will. I think we will. I hope we do. I enjoyed the meeting. We had a great meeting. Please.
Mr. President, Republican Elise Stefanik has campaigned multiple times by calling Zohran Mamdani a jihadist. Do you think you're standing next to a jihadist right now in the Oval Office?
No, I don't, but she's out there campaigning.
Not far from it.
You know,
I mean, far from it. I mean, let's be real. We're talking about a guy who was sticking up for trans, prostitution, all the stuff that's haram. I mean,